The holocron pulsed with an irregular rhythm on the table between them like a mechanical heart struggling to maintain its beat. 3 weeks had passed since their escape from Ord Cantrell, and still Nira couldn't sleep without seeing the patterns it projected onto the walls of her quarters aboard the _tarnished hope _. It's trying to tell us something, she said, leaning forward to study the shifting geometric patterns on its surface. They had settled temporarily at Broken Horn, taking advantage of the shadow port's anonymity while deciding their next move. Jado watched her from across the table, his usual smirk replaced by something more cautious. Or it's trying to manipulate you. The Jedi weren't the only ones who made holocrons. The statement hung in the recycled air of the station's cantina. Neither of them had voiced the possibility that what they'd found might not be Jedi in origin. It responded to me, Nira countered. If it were Sith. Not everything is so clearly defined, Jado said, sliding a data pad toward her. My contacts just sent this. The holocron's engravings match a description in Imperial intelligence archives. It belonged to a Jedi archaeologist named Eno Cordova who disappeared during the Clone Wars. Nira scrolled through the information. So it is Jedi. Cordova wasn't just any Jedi. He specialized in ancient Force artifacts, particularly those that existed before the clear division between Jedi and Sith. Some in the Order considered his research dangerous. Nira looked up at Jado sharply. And you're only telling me this now? Information costs, he said with a shrug that didn't quite achieve nonchalance. Besides, I wanted to be sure. She turned her attention back to the holocron. Since their escape, she'd been practicing small manipulations of objects, heightened awareness, the basic foundations of force sensitivity that the holocron's tutorials had revealed. Progress came surprisingly naturally, as if her body had always known how to access these abilities, but her mind had built walls around them. There's more, Jado said, reclaiming her attention. The Empire had a special division hunting Force artifacts after the Purge. The Inquisitorius had? Past tense. Officially disbanded after Ender. Unofficially. Jado tapped the screen, bringing up a grainy security image. This was taken 3 days ago on Corellia. Former Inquisitor Kalia Vex purchasing information about our encounter on Ord Cantrell. The image showed a tall woman with severe features and close-cropped silver hair. Even in the poor quality capture, there was something predatory in her stance. How did she know about us? Nira asked. Imperial Commander Prax survived. And it seems he had a direct line to former Inquisitors. The holocron suddenly flared, its glow intensifying. The patterns on its surface shifted, resolving into what looked like star coordinates. That's new, Jado observed. Nira reached toward it hesitantly. When her fingers made contact, the sensation was like plunging her hand into ice water. A rush of images flooded her mind, snow-covered mountains, a hidden entrance carved with ancient symbols, a chamber filled with light. Ando Prime, she gasped as the connection broke. There's something on Ando Prime. Some kind of Jedi outpost or temple. Jado raised an eyebrow. You got all that from touching it? Not details. Just impressions. Feelings. She rubbed her temples. But I'm certain about the location. Ando Prime is an ice world in the Outer Rim. Mostly abandoned now, but it was rumored to have Jedi connections during the High Republic era. We need to go there, Nira said with a certainty that surprised even herself. Before Vex figures it out. Jado studied her for a long moment. This isn't a simple salvage run anymore, Nira. We're stepping into something bigger. If Inquisitors are involved, even former ones. This is dangerous in ways neither of us is prepared for. I haven't been prepared for anything since I found out I could move things with my mind, she replied dryly. But I'm going with or without you. A slow smile spread across Jado's face. Well, I can't let my partner have all the fun, can I? The journey to Ando Prime took 3 days, even pushing their ships to their limits. They agreed to take the _tarnished hope _, leaving Jado's more conspicuous vessel securely docked at Broken Horn. The time in close quarters revealed new dimensions to their partnership, Jado's surprising knowledge of ancient languages, Nira's talent for mechanical improvisation, and the growing tension between them as Nira's connection to the Force strengthened. You're doing it again, Jado said as they dropped out of hyperspace, the white sphere of Ando Prime filling the viewport. Doing what? Nira asked, though she knew exactly what he meant. That thing where you close your eyes and suddenly know which console is about to malfunction. He kept his tone light, but she could hear the underlying unease. It's unnerving. Imagine how I feel, she muttered. 1 month ago I was just a salvager trying to make enough credits for fuel. Now I'm... Special? Jado supplied. Hunted, she corrected. The ship broke atmosphere, descending into swirling snow clouds. Navigating by the coordinates from the holocron, they found themselves approaching a vast mountain range. Sharp peaks jutted from the endless white like the teeth of some monstrous creature. According to the nav computer, there's nothing out here, Jado said, checking the sensors. No settlements, no outposts, nothing. It's there, Nira insisted. The entrance is hidden in that mountain. She pointed to a particularly imposing peak. They landed at the base of the mountain, the ship's landing struts crunching through meters of accumulated snow. Bundled in thermal gear, they emerged into a howling blizzard. If we freeze to death, I'm blaming you, Jado shouted over the wind. Nira didn't reply. She was already moving forward, guided by a pull she couldn't explain. The holocron, secured in a pouch at her hip, grew warmer despite the frigid temperature. They trudged through the snow for nearly an hour before reaching what appeared to be a sheer rock face. Nira placed her gloved hand against the stone, closing her eyes to focus. There's a passage, she said. It's been sealed for decades, maybe centuries. How do we open it? Jado asked, stamping his feet to keep warm. In answer, Nira removed her glove and placed her bare palm against the freezing stone. The cold bit into her flesh, but she ignored it, focusing on the energy flowing through her and into the rock. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a deep rumbling vibrated through the mountain. Ancient mechanisms, dormant for generations, groaned to life. A section of the rock face slid away, revealing a dark tunnel leading into the heart of the mountain. Impressive, Jado admitted. They were about to enter when the distinctive whine of a ship's engines cut through the howling wind. A sleek, predatory craft descended from the clouds, its design unmistakably Imperial despite the lack of insignia. We've got company, Jado said, drawing his blaster. And I'm guessing it's not the welcoming committee. The ship landed 100 meters away. Its boarding ramp extended and a single figure emerged, tall, confident, dressed in black armor with red accents. Even at this distance, there was no mistaking Kalia Vex. Get inside, Nira urged, pulling Jado toward the tunnel entrance. We need to find whatever's here before she does. They plunged into the darkness as blaster fire erupted behind them. The passage sealed itself once they were inside, cutting off pursuit. Emergency lighting, triggered by their presence, flickered to life along the walls, revealing a corridor carved with symbols neither of them recognized. Those don't look like Jedi markings, Jado observed, running his fingers over the strange glyphs. They're not, Nira agreed. They're much older. The corridor led them deeper into the mountain, descending in a gentle spiral. The further they went, the warmer the air became, a stark contrast to the frozen wasteland outside. They emerged into a vast chamber with a domed ceiling. At its center stood a raised platform surrounding what appeared to be a vault door, massive, circular, and inscribed with the same unknown symbols from the corridor. What is this place? Jado wondered aloud. Before Nira could answer, a new voice echoed through the chamber. It's a Kyber crystal repository, one of the oldest in the galaxy. Kalia Vex stood in a doorway on the opposite side of the chamber, flanked by 4 mercenaries in mismatched armor. She had bypassed the main entrance entirely, finding another way in. The Inquisitorius always kept backdoor access to places like this, she explained as if reading Nira's thoughts. Old habits die hard. Former Inquisitor Vex, Jado said, his hand hovering near his blaster. I thought your order disbanded with the Empire. The Empire, the Inquisitorius, organizations may fall, but purpose remains. Vex stepped forward, her movements precise and predatory. The holocron salvager. Hand it over and you both might leave this place alive. Nira felt the weight of the artifact against her hip. Why does everyone want this thing so badly? Because it's a key, Vex replied. A map to places like this, repositories of Kyber crystals and ancient knowledge that the Empire spent decades trying to catalog and control. And now you want that control for yourself, Jado accused. Vex's laugh was sharp and humorless. You understand so little. I'm not here to claim these crystals. I'm here to ensure they remain sealed away. The vault door suddenly trembled, the symbols on its surface beginning to glow with an eerie blue light. Nira felt the holocron responding, growing hot enough to feel through the pouch. It's activating the vault, Vex said, her voice tightening. Stop it, now. Before anyone could move, the chamber shook with the impact of what could only be orbital bombardment. Dust and small rocks rained from the ceiling. Imperial forces, one of Vex's mercenaries reported, checking a scanner. Star Destroyer in orbit. They've tracked your ship. Prax, Jado spat. He's persistent, I'll give him that. Another blast rocked the chamber, larger this time. Cracks appeared in the ancient stone. This entire structure will collapse if they keep this up, Vex warned. The crystals must remain sealed. Nira's mind raced. The holocron continued to pulse, resonating with the vault door. Whatever was happening, she seemed to be the catalyst. She could feel the force flowing through her, through the holocron into the ancient mechanisms of the vault. Why shouldn't these crystals be found? She demanded of Vex. What aren't you telling us? The crystals in that vault aren't just any Kyber, Vex explained, tension evident in her voice. They're corrupted, tainted during an ancient Sith ritual. The Jedi sealed them away because anyone who attunes to them is driven mad, consumed by the dark side. The chamber shook again, more violently. One of Vex's mercenaries was crushed by falling debris. The others raised their weapons, uncertain where to aim as the entire mountain seemed to be coming apart. The Empire wants them as weapons, Vex continued. Prax believes they can be harnessed, controlled. He's wrong. Nira looked to Jado, who gave her a slight nod. For once, I think the ex-Inquisitor is telling the truth. The vault door had begun to rotate, ancient locking mechanisms disengaging one by one. Nira approached it, drawn by an irresistible pull. Stay back, Vex ordered, drawing a weapon unlike any Nira had seen, not quite a lightsaber, but similar in design, its red blade crackling with unstable energy. Let her pass, Jado said, his blaster now aimed squarely at Vex. She needs to see what's inside. Another impact shook the chamber. Larger chunks of the ceiling began to fall. The Imperial bombardment was intensifying, as if Prax somehow knew they were close to the vault. Vex hesitated, then lowered her weapon. If those crystals are released, millions could die. Nira placed her hand on the vault door. The moment she made contact, everything around her fell away. She was no longer in the chamber, no longer on Ando Prime. Instead, she found herself floating in a void filled with possible futures, visions streaming past her like rivers of light and shadow. In one, she saw herself wielding a lightsaber with a blade as black as space, leading armies across burning worlds. In another, she stood beside Jado, using her powers to heal and protect. In a third, the corrupted crystals formed the heart of a superweapon that reduced planets to ash. Countless possibilities, all stemming from this moment, this choice. She came back to herself with a gasp. The vault door had stopped moving, held in place by her will alone. I understand now, she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. The holocron wasn't leading us to claim the crystals. It was leading me here to make a choice. What choice? Jado asked, ducking as another piece of ceiling crashed nearby. Whether to destroy them or use them, Nira replied. She turned to Vex. That's why the Inquisitorius wanted the holocron. Not just to find the repositories, but to find people like me, force sensitives who could access them. Vex nodded grimly. The Emperor believed the crystals could be controlled by the right vessel. He was searching for someone strong enough in the Force but untrained, uncorrupted by Jedi teachings. Someone like me, Nira realized. The chamber gave a terrible groan as structural supports began to fail. They had minutes, perhaps seconds, before the entire mountain collapsed. We need to go now, Jado shouted. Nira looked at the vault door, still partially open. Through the gap, she could see the corrupted Kyber crystals, hundreds of them, pulsing with a sickly light. Their power called to her, promising strength beyond imagination. In that moment, she understood the true test. Not whether she would take the crystals or leave them, but whether she would ensure no one else could ever use them. She placed both hands on the vault door and pushed, not physically, but through the Force. The ancient mechanisms reversed, the door beginning to close. But it wasn't enough. Even sealed, the vault would eventually be found again. The charges, she said, turning to Vex's remaining mercenaries. The ones you were going to use to seal this place. Set them now around the vault. Understanding dawned on Vex's face. You're going to collapse the chamber. The entire repository, Nira confirmed. It's the only way to be sure. As the mercenaries rushed to place the explosives, Jado approached Nira. You're destroying a treasure beyond value, he said, but there was no judgment in his voice. Some treasures aren't meant to be found, she replied. Some power isn't meant to be used. They worked quickly, setting the charges as the Imperial bombardment continued. When everything was ready, they retreated to the corridor that had brought them in. This will seal both entrances, Vex warned. We'll have to find another way out. Nira nodded, her hand hovering over the detonator. I guess we better start looking. She pressed the button. The explosions rippled through the chamber in a carefully orchestrated sequence. The vault door sealed permanently, then the charges around it detonated, collapsing the ceiling directly onto the vault itself. Tons of rock and ice buried the corrupted crystals beneath the mountain. As the dust settled, the bombardment stopped. Without sensors to guide them, the Imperial forces had lost their target. There's an ancient emergency exit, Vex said, surprisingly calm despite the destruction. It should lead us to the surface about 2 kilometers from here. They made their way through narrow passages, climbing steadily upward. Vex's remaining mercenaries led the way, followed by Jado and Nira, with Vex bringing up the rear. "Why did you really come here?" Nira asked the former Inquisitor. "You could have just destroyed this place from orbit." "The same reason you came," Vex replied. "To see what choice you would make." "You were testing me?" "The Force was testing you. I was merely observing." They emerged onto the surface far from their ships, the blizzard still raging around them. In the distance, they could see Imperial shuttles searching the area. "What happens now?" Jado asked, looking from Nira to Vex. "Now we disappear," Vex said. "Separately. There are other repositories, other artifacts. And Prax won't be the last to seek them." "You want us to keep doing this," Nira realized. "Finding these places before the Empire does." "Someone needs to," Vex replied. "The Jedi are gone. The New Republic doesn't understand the danger. That leaves people like us, those who've seen both sides of the Force." Nira felt the weight of the holocron, somehow intact despite everything. "And this? What do we do with it?" "Keep it," Vex said. "It's chosen you for better or worse. But be careful. Not all its secrets are benevolent." With that, the former Inquisitor turned and walked away, soon disappearing into the swirling snow. Jado looked at Nira, snowflakes gathering on his eyelashes. "Well, partner, it seems our salvage business just got a lot more complicated." Nira smiled despite everything. "You could walk away. Find another partner who just wants to strip Imperial ships for parts. And miss whatever comes next? Not a chance." He grinned, that familiar cockiness returning. "Besides, someone needs to keep you from turning into a mysterious Force hermit with too many cryptic sayings." As they made their way back toward the _tarnished hope undersur, Nira felt something she hadn't experienced in years. A sense of purpose. The path ahead would be dangerous, filled with artifacts of terrible power and those who would misuse them. But for the first time, she wasn't running from who she was. She was becoming who she was meant to be. The holocron hummed softly in her pouch, its secrets waiting to be discovered. One dangerous treasure at a time.